We now know that who the shooter was. He's been apprehended. I have to say, it's a little odd because Mayor Adams is like, we got him. And I was like, yes, they got him. And then I found out, well, they got him because he basically contacted the NYPD and was like, here I am. Come get me. Here I am. This is where to find me. Like, I mean, I'm glad we got him, but like, I'm not sure we should be like patting ourselves on the back. So the troubling thing about this guy's history is that he was apparently on the terrorist watch list for a time. He managed to get a gun. He has at least 12 prior convictions, though no felonies. So how is this guy not, being monitored? How is he being provided access to firearms? How were we not sort of keeping a closer eye on him? Jonna, I'll start with you.
Well, that's a great question. I would like to know how it is that you can't say something, you can't form an opinion on Twitter about COVID without getting blacklisted, or you wind up in Facebook jail, but you got a guy who regularly went on social media rants, racist rants, homicidal rants, and he's allowed to do that with impunity. But if you have an opinion on social media, you are not, number one. Number two, around here in New York, if you have a misdemeanor on your record, you're going to have a tough time getting a gun, let alone 12. So even though legally it's usually not preclude you from getting a gun, as a practical matter, it does. Even if the misdemeanor is a minor misdemeanor like a DWI or a DWAI. So number three, if we're going to do away with cops, which is also a bad idea, well, then you better not do away with the cameras that are going to catch people doing the crap that the cops can't arrest them for. I mean, those are the top three things that needed to happen in this case that didn't happen. And you're right. He turned himself in and basically said, I'm at the McDonald's, come and get me. And they got him. So you're right. Eric Adams has no cause to hold a trophy up or put a star on his jacket because it wasn't about him. As a matter of fact, it just illustrates the failings of this government.
Seriously, I'm like, okay, I'm ready to give you credit until I find out that basically you couldn't find him, even though there were lots of breadcrumbs, until he was like, here I am, would you come get me? I'm like, okay. And let's start with that. What about the Facebook piece of this, like the online social media? Jonna's got a good point. Like you can't say anything, right? Like so many people, like RFK Jr., we interviewed him. He's been banned. He had his account taken down on Instagram and Facebook and all these things. But you can be this guy with his racist rants, his misogynistic rants, his threatening of violence, he hated the mayor too. No problem. Why?
Yeah, exactly. That's just, it's just from the sublime to the ridiculous. How can you ban Bobby Kennedy Jr. because he's anti-vax? That's an opinion he has. Are you basically saying if he weighs in on this, you're going to totally change people's opinions out there? Therefore, we have to censure you and take you off Instagram or Twitter or whatever else. And this guy, you've seen the kind of things he was saying. He was a bomb waiting to go off.
Yes.
He's the accident waiting to happen. This guy's just like, here I am, here I am, here I am. Nobody does anything. And then, by the way, at the end, he says, I heard you were looking for me. I'm right here. Amazing.
God. What about the fact, so he was on the FBI watch list before, but was apparently cleared in 2019 after multiple interviews. He had entered into the FBI's Guardian lead system, I guess, in New Mexico. I'm not sure what that is exactly, but the FBI's system in New Mexico. It sounds like we don't know why he was entered into that list or that system, Jonna, but they can't keep you on that system forever. So if you don't commit a crime or do something particularly dangerous, you come off of it and then, they stop watching you.
Yeah. And last I heard, we didn't defund the FBI. So you would think they would at least stay on top of their game, but they didn't. The other thing that makes me really hot under the collar about this is this guy intentionally dressed like he was a subway worker. When you see those pictures, people probably thought he belonged there. That to me adds insult to the multiple injury here. He knew what he was doing. He might be mentally depraved, or he might have some sort of mental illness, but he sure was calculating for a guy who's crazy. Another thing, we got to stop coddling the crazies. And I don't mean that there are people with mental illness, I understand, and hopefully they can get help, and that's great. But a lot of times people with mental illness also commit crimes. We can't coddle them, and we have been, and that needs to stop. We are not safe until we do.
Well, you know, Anne, that he's going to raise a mentally deficient, mentally ill,
Right.
whatever, defense when this ultimately goes to trial. Apparently his sister says he's not mentally ill. And you tell me whether somebody truly mentally ill to the point where it could get you off at trial could be as organized and methodical with smoke bombs and the number of victims he had as this guy was.
All right. And I was thinking the exact same thing. I mean, the sister said he's not mentally ill. When I was a prosecutor, we used to say, like in a robbery case, he wasn't holding up a telephone pole with a banana. He was holding up a bank with a gun. I mean, look at this guy. Meticulous. I mean, totally organized. He's dressed the part and he pulls it off. Who does that? I mean, he knew the nature and quality of his act. He knew what right from wrong. And he knew right from wrong because he said, I heard you looking for me. Here I am. He knew he did it. So I don't know where the defense goes. I don't think very far.
And Johnny, you point out the camera reference you made, the subways, after putting cameras in all the subways and bragging to us about how under our last loser mayor, how safe we were all going to be now, they didn't have them on. Not one. So none of this was caught by the infamous subway cameras that the New Yorkers paid for exactly this sort of a situation.
And cameras don't stop crimes, right? Cameras will help us catch the perp or the culprit. They don't stop the bullets from firing out of the gun. Police can help do that. Police can certainly help do that. And if this guy didn't turn himself in, he'd probably still be on the loose and, committing or planning to commit another crime. It's absolutely ridiculous. And we need to act with lightning speed. We can start in New York City because New York City needs it bad. With lightning speed and start refunding these police, getting them out there, checking the infrastructure, and don't get on with your three-piece suit in front of a camera and think that you did something good until these incidents are few and far between. We have a long way to go. I'll get off my soapbox now.
No, this is the same mayor who was telling us like a month ago that we shouldn't actually be afraid on the subway. That it was like, I can't remember how he put it, but like fear is not the appropriate emotion and the subways are safe. Well, actually, not so much. We're having women being shoved in front of the trains right now. We're having people attacked down there all the time with knives, with hammers. And now you got this guy, a mass shooting. It's a miracle no one died. A miracle. Thank God for at least that piece of this.